Welcome to our deep dive, everybody, where today we're taking on the world of crime journalism.
It's a really fascinating field, high stakes.
Yeah, I mean, it's way more than just like reporting the news.
Right. We're talking digging deep
Yeah,
into criminal events, helping the public understand the justice system.
it's complicated stuff, it's complex.
Absolutely.
So to help us understand, we're using insights from RoleCatcher.
Yeah. It's a really cool platform, by the way.
It is. So it's got career guidance, but it also has AI assistance built in.
It's like having a seasoned crime reporter, like whispering secrets in your ear, tips and tricks.
Yeah, I love that. So we're going to be using their interview guide and career guide for crime journalists, especially to help you get ready for that all-important job interview.
Yes, that's where the rubber meets the road, right?
Exactly. So let's just jump right into the heart of it, and that is the interview questions.
Okay, let's do it.
RoleCatcher gives us 10 real-life questions you might be asked, and we're going to break them down. Each one, we're not just going to talk about what the interviewer wants to know, but also how RoleCatcher's AI can help you tailor your responses.
And we'll try and weave in insights from RoleCatcher's career guide as well, just to give you that bigger picture context.
Perfect. So are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. Question number 1. Can you tell us about your previous experience covering crime stories? Sounds simple enough, but what do they really want to know?
They want more than just a list, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
you wrote this, you wrote that. It's an opportunity to showcase your passion,
Uh-huh.
for crime journalism, highlight those investigative skills, the things that you're good at, and also demonstrate your understanding of the criminal justice system as a whole.
So how do you suggest we do that? Like, how do we choose which stories to talk about? What kind of approach does RoleCatcher recommend?
Well, they recommend that you focus on a few high-impact stories and then really emphasize the specific skills that you used in those stories. Okay. So, for example, let's say you uncovered some new information through your reporting. Talk about the research methods that you used. How did you cultivate your sources? What were the challenges that you overcame to get the story?
It's about showing that you can go deep.
Yeah.
Uncover the truth.
Exactly. And don't just tell them, show them. Like, use vivid language. Tell a good story.
Bring it to life. I love it.
Okay.
Question number 2. How do you stay up to date on the latest developments in the crime beat?
Now, this one is where you prove you're a true crime news junkie.
Yes, you got to be on it. But it's not just quantity, right?
It's not, no. It's quality, too.
Yeah.
The interviewer wants to know you're relying on credible sources, that you're really engaging with the material.
So when we name drop, we got to make sure it's reputable. So what does RoleCatcher advise here?
A good mix. Traditional and digital sources.
Oh,
So think like, respected news outlets, court websites, maybe law enforcement blogs. Are there podcasts you listen to? Academic journals?
I got to go deep.
Yeah. Show that you're thinking about things, you're actively involved in the community. Did you go to a conference recently?
Yeah.
Mention it?
Yes, all those little things add up to paint a really clear picture of someone who wants to be informed. Okay, next question. How do you balance the need for accurate reporting with the public's right to know? Ooh, this one gets kind of philosophical.
Yeah. This is one of those where they're really trying to get a sense of your understanding of journalistic ethics. They want to see how you'd handle information that's sensitive.
Right.
Especially when it could, impact an ongoing investigation.
Yeah.
Or even potentially put lives at risk.
Yeah, that's heavy stuff. So how do we even approach this? It's tricky.
Well, RoleCatcher suggests this kind of a three-pronged approach.
Okay.
The first part is to really emphasize your commitment to accuracy, that you would meticulously fact-check your sources, make sure everything's solid. Second is you got to acknowledge the public's right to know.
Right.
Transparency is crucial, especially in a democracy. People need to be informed. And then finally, you need to explain your process for how you deal with these potential conflicts.
So sort of like, how do we weigh the consequences? But also uphold integrity.
Yeah. And remember, too, that there's rarely like a black and white answer with this.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Acknowledging the complexity is really key.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
Let's talk trust. Question number 4 is, how do you handle sensitive information and protect your sources?
Oh, this is a big one in crime journalism.
It's a big one.
They want to know that you understand just how serious confidentiality is.
Yeah.
Especially when your sources are potentially putting themselves at risk by talking to you.
So it's not just legal protection. It's about protecting the people that are trusting you with their stories.
100%.
Yeah. So what does RoleCatcher recommend we do?
So emphasize your commitment to protecting your sources. And do that by, outlining specific measures you would take. So maybe you use encrypted communication, maybe you anonymize identities, you carefully consider like all the potential risks before you publish anything that could compromise somebody. You might even want to mention shield laws and how you understand the legal protections for journalists.
Shows you're thinking ahead, taking those precautions.
Right.
Are there any pitfalls to avoid with this one?
Yeah, I mean, don't share past instances where you might have compromised a source's confidentiality, even if it was unintentional.
That's a good point.
And never reveal anything that could identify a confidential source. Even like in a hypothetical, just don't do it.
Don't do it. Good advice. Okay, question number 5. How do you approach interviewing victims and family members in sensitive cases? This one requires a little bit of a delicate touch, right?
Oh, for sure. This gets into empathy.
Yeah.
And your ability to handle emotionally charged situations. You've got to have compassion and respect. You need to show that you can gather information without exploiting somebody or re-traumatizing someone.
Right, because they've already been through something awful. So how do we convey that sensitivity that we understand what they're going through?
Well, RoleCatcher really highlights the importance of preparation.
Yeah.
So research the case thoroughly. Be mindful of cultural sensitivities.
Yeah.
And craft your questions with care. Be upfront about your intentions, explain why you're doing the interview, and give them control over the conversation.
Let them know they can stop if they want.
Exactly. They can decline to answer anything. And don't underestimate just active listening.
Yeah, that's huge.
Focus on what they're saying, not just the words, but their body language.
Yeah.
Let them guide the pace and the direction of the conversation.
Okay, good advice. Now let's get a little personal. Question number 6. Can you tell us about a particularly challenging crime story you covered and how you approached it?
All right, so this is your time to shine. This is where you get to showcase those problem-solving skills.
And your ability to navigate complex situations, especially when you're under pressure. Pick a story that demonstrates your tenacity, your resourcefulness, your commitment to getting the story right, even when it's really hard.
I like that. Now, RoleCatcher gives us a sample answer where a reporter is facing uncooperative sources and deadlines and even threats to their safety. So how do we approach that kind of heavy situation?
Focus on the actions that you took to overcome the obstacles.
Okay.
Did you have to build trust with a source who didn't want to talk to you?
Yeah.
Did you manage your time really well to meet a deadline? Did you prioritize your own safety? Be specific. Give details.
I think it's also okay to be a little vulnerable, right? To admit you made mistakes if you learn from them.
It just makes you more human, more relatable.
Exactly. Shows that you're willing to grow.
Okay. Question number 7. How do you approach fact-checking and verifying information in your reporting? This one just feels more important now than ever.
Oh, absolutely. In the age of misinformation, this one is crucial.
Yeah.
The interviewer wants to know that you're meticulous, that you care about the truth, you're a real researcher.
So it's really about showcasing that journalistic integrity.
100%.
So how do we do it? What does RoleCatcher advise?
They recommend emphasizing your multi-layered approach to verification.
Go.
So that might be consulting multiple sources, cross-referencing information. Maybe you use reliable databases or you reach out to experts just to make sure.
You leave no stone unturned.
Exactly. And also don't forget to mention specific tools or techniques that you use if you have any, like reverse image searching or fact-checking websites, things like that.
Yeah. Let's go back to ethics for a second. Question number 8. Can you tell us about a time when you had to make a difficult ethical decision in your reporting?
Okay, so this one's about your moral compass.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Right, and how you navigate those gray areas that journalists often have to face. Choose a situation that really tested you ethically and walk them through your process.
So transparency's key.
Absolutely. Explain your reasoning clearly. And don't be afraid to acknowledge that it was difficult.
Yeah.
You want to show that you made a well-informed and ethical decision.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, question number 9. Here we go. How do you approach covering sensitive topics such as sexual assault or domestic violence? So this goes beyond just reporting the facts.
It does. It really does.
Yeah.
You need to show them that you understand the nuances of trauma,
Yeah.
the importance of consent,
Yeah.
and how the things that you write could impact survivors and their families.
It's a very delicate balance, isn't it?
It is.
Of reporting on these very important issues, but also protecting people.
Right, their privacy and their dignity. So RoleCatcher emphasizes something called trauma-informed reporting practices. So, understand how trauma affects memory and behavior, how people might be acting differently. Avoid sensationalism and use language that is respectful and empowering to survivors.
And of course, getting informed consent is absolutely essential.
100%. Explain the purpose of the interview clearly. Explain, what the potential risks are, what are the benefits, and how their story's going to be used. And always give them the option to opt out.
Totally. Okay, last question for this section of our deep dive. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. How do you approach covering crime stories in communities of color or other marginalized groups? So this one is really about fairness and inclusivity.
Right. They want to see that you understand the nuances of things like systemic racism, implicit bias, and the historical context that shapes these narratives around crime.
So it's about moving beyond just those stereotypes or assumptions to really dig deep.
And highlight the work that you do to build trust and rapport with these communities. Maybe you work with community liaisons, maybe you attend community events. Take the time to understand their perspective.
Build those relationships. And understand those lived experiences.
Exactly. And be mindful of those power dynamics that are at play, right?
That's a good point.
As a journalist, you might be in a position of privilege.
You might.
And so recognize how that influences your interactions and how you frame your stories.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
Wow, we just covered a lot of ground with those interview questions.
We did.
I'm exhausted. But before we move on, I want to touch on how RoleCatcher's AI can help you tailor your prep, So imagine you upload your CV and the job description into RoleCatcher. What happens?
Well, their AI analyzes both those documents, and it pulls out the skills and experience that are most relevant.
It's amazing. It's like having an AI career coach.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Helping you put your best foot forward.
Right. And it gets even better because RoleCatcher can also analyze video rehearsals. Yeah, so you can record yourself answering questions and get feedback on your delivery.
So cool.
Your tone, your body language.
It's incredible. But remember, AI is just a tool. We also have RoleCatcher's Career Guide for Crime Journalists, which is amazing, and we're going to dig into that later.
Yeah, it's a great resource.
It is.
For understanding what a typical career path might look like. What are the skills you need? How do you get ahead?
So we've done the questions. We've gotten a glimpse of what the AI can do. Next, we're going to dig into those career insights and how you can use all this info to actually land your dream job.
Let's do it. All right, so we've made it through those interview questions.
Yeah, I'm exhausted.
Yeah, me too, but they're important.
They are. Those are tough questions.
Yeah.
But now I think it's time to take a step back. Look at the bigger picture, the whole career.
Right, what does a career in crime journalism actually look like?
Exactly. And luckily, RoleCatcher has a career guide that gives us some insights. What's the typical path? What skills do you absolutely need? How do you move up in this world?
Yeah, and it paints a pretty clear picture.
It does.
Usually start as an entry-level reporter, build that portfolio, hone your skills, and then from there you can move up to junior crime journalist, then senior journalist, and then who knows? Chief crime journalist or an editor-in-chief.
Okay, I love the ambition. But let's back up for a sec. What are those essential skills that RoleCatcher highlights? Because it's got to be more than just being a good writer.
Oh, way more. But of course, communication skills are crucial.
Makes sense.
Written and verbal. You've got to be a sharp interviewer, ask tough questions, and extract information. And your writing needs to be clear, concise, captivating.
Okay, so what else? What else do we need?
You have to be able to think critically.
Yeah.
Crime journalists need to analyze information, connect the dots, see if something's not adding up. You're uncovering the truth. It's not just what's on the surface.
So you're like a detective with a keyboard.
100%, yeah. And this one might surprise you. Social perceptiveness.
Social perceptiveness, what does that even mean in crime journalism?
It means you can read people.
Okay.
Understand their motives, and pick up on those subtle cues.
Yeah.
This is so valuable when you're talking to witnesses, suspects, or anyone involved in a crime. Imagine if you can sense when someone's holding something back or their body language doesn't match what they're saying.
That's like having a built-in lie detector.
Right. And RoleCatcher gives some great advice on how to, develop these skills further.
Yeah.
Workshops, online courses, maybe read books about criminal justice.
Immerse yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. What about moving up? What kind of advice does RoleCatcher have for, climbing that ladder?
Networking.
Okay.
Networking is so important. Build those relationships with other journalists, law enforcement, legal experts, attend industry events, join professional organizations. Just put yourself out there.
Make those connections. Get your name out there.
Right, exactly. And your portfolio is key. It's got to be killer.
What does that even mean?
This is your chance to show off your best work, make an impression. So RoleCatcher suggests making a website or a blog, something online, share your articles, videos, recordings.
On social media, right.
Of course. Promote your work, engage with other journalists and readers.
Build that brand.
Exactly, yeah. Make yourself stand out.
Yeah, it's a crowded field.
Mhm.
Okay, I want to circle back to RoleCatcher's AI for a minute. We talked about how it can help tailor answers. But can you give me a concrete example? Like, how does it actually work?
Okay, so say you're practicing that question about handling sensitive information, right? You record yourself, and RoleCatcher will analyze your video. It looks at your words, your tone, how you're holding yourself.
It's like a personal coach.
It is. Like, it might suggest, hey, use stronger language to sound more confident, or you're using too many filler words, cut back on the ums and ahs. Or even, adjust your posture to look more authoritative.
That's amazing.
Okay.
But beyond the AI, I think it's really interesting that RoleCatcher leaves us with this question. What are some of the ethical challenges a crime journalist might face? Because this isn't just about getting the story.
It's not, no. It's about those ethical dilemmas, those competing interests, always trying to do the right thing.
Even when it's hard.
Even when it's hard.
So it's using your platform responsibly. And that's a powerful message to take away from this deep dive.
Wow, we covered so much ground today.
I know, right?
From those crazy interview questions to the whole career path. It's a lot.
It is. It's a lot to take in. But hopefully it's inspiring, too.
It is. It's inspiring. We talked about the skills you need, how to network, even how tech, like RoleCatcher's AI, can help you.
Right. And we can't forget about the ethical side of things. That's huge.
It is. Being a crime journalist, it's more than just chasing the big story, right?
Absolutely.
It's about keeping the public informed, holding people accountable, really digging into how the justice system works. It's complicated. Yeah, and it's about seeking truth, even when it's tough.
Yeah, when it's uncomfortable. And also approaching these stories with sensitivity, for the people involved.
Yeah.
The victims, the families, the communities.
You gotta have compassion. It's not just about getting the facts.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one thought. We've talked about all these practical steps, but there's one ingredient you can't teach, and that's passion.
That's so true. You can learn the skills, you can build your network, but if you don't have that fire in your belly,
that drive to uncover the truth, to share those stories.
it's just not going to work.
Yeah. So if you're drawn to this field, if you want to make a difference, don't let anything stop you.
Embrace the challenges. Keep learning. Keep pushing yourself.
The world needs good storytellers, especially now.
Exactly. Especially now. So if you have that passion and you love getting to the bottom of things, maybe crime journalism is your calling.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the world of crime journalism. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was helpful.
And remember, if you want more guidance, check out RoleCatcher. They have a ton of resources to help you on your journey.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep asking those tough questions.